Yeah, I should say, actually, this isn't the reason why you're not doing more on Flopped, because you're doing Boys on Film stuff. I don't want people, atting me. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Boys on Film, where we cast our critical eyes over the latest movies and TV shows that are on offer in the cinemas and online. And if that sounds like your bag, then smash that subscribe button. I am your host, Phil Marriott, and joining me is the very hot and sticky co-host, Sean Vickers. I'm just presuming you're hot and sticky. I haven't felt you or anything.
I'm glued to this chair. Not in a good way. Yeah, I'm quite clammy.
Slight understatement. It is officially the hottest day ever in the UK. London is literally on fire. I mean, I'm not laughing about that, but it is burning all around
I just popped around the city and just tried to get into the shade and find places with air conditioning. It's literally mental. So, yeah, the hottest day of all time ever recorded in the United Kingdom. And here we are.
So we're talking about Maisie today, which is a documentary written and directed by Lee Cooper. But I've been talking to a friend of mine, DJ Demon, who works at Two Brewers, where I DJ in London and Clapham, and he said he attended the screening of this, like a preview screening, before lockdown. So it's been going.
Wow.
I mean, they've been trying to get this out for so long. Obviously, COVID has interfered with it. But I didn't realise. I thought this was, relatively new and kind of just finished. But no, it's been in the can for ages.
Me too, and I was actually very excited to see this documentary. As you know, queer documentary.
Yeah,
count me in.
And I know quite a few people in there, and I know some of the shots, some of the locations where they filmed, which is always interesting because you feel like you're a part of it, don't you?
You do. Maisie Trollette, queer cabaret artiste. Don't call her drag queen.
No.
Oldest performing drag artiste in the United Kingdom, but not in the world, as we find out from the documentary.
Can we just pause to applause?
Well done, babes. What a service to the community. And really follows a period of time in their life. They're based in Brighton.
So I've worked as a DJ at a lot of these venues where they've played. Two Brewers is one of those. So I'm still resident DJ there. I'm not going to make this all about me. It's about Maisie, obviously.
But Phil, it's about the film. Honestly, it's not a plug.
I just wanted to kind of talk about my connection. I don't know Maisie Trollette. I know Miss Jason fairly well. I've worked with her a couple of times at events. And I know Lola Lasagna, who also features in this documentary towards the end. But this is quite intimate, and I must admit, I was quite surprised at how different a direction it went, because I was kind of thinking it was going to be her life story, but it wasn't really so much, was it? It was more Maisie Trollette now.
Yeah, I was ready for the origin story, as you know. I love an origin story, but it doesn't really go there. It really is a snapshot of Maisie Trollette's life today, living in Brighton. I think they're 84, 85?
85, I think. Yeah, probably 87 now. Actually, when this was made, I think she was 85.
You're right.
Yeah,
and then the connections, it's quite amazing because it's a very British documentary, because it talks to a lot of celebrities that we all knew growing up, and Maisie Trollette's connections with those celebrities and their life today, really, and on a queer scene that's obviously evolving very, very quickly, and their role within it.
Because they were there first. I mean, let's not forget that they've been doing this kind of work for decades.
It's a very specific kind of drag. In a world today where drag is all about the face and Instagram and presenting a certain look, it's a certain drag that's different. It's actually about entertaining. So, big old show tunes. There's a great line which is there's two lies in drag. One is the illusion that it's a man dressed as a woman, and the other one is people believing it's a woman dressed, And I love that idea about it, because it isn't about this fully beat face and whatever. It's really about a show and a performance. And I think what I took away from it was, when you see Miss Jason and Dave Lynn and Maisie rehearsing, it is like acting. It is like theatre. It is like putting on a performance. It felt very much of that nature, which is it's a role and I'm playing a role, which I liked, actually. There was something quite warming and heartening about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mustn't forget also that despite the title, it's not just about Maisie, because we have a storyline going through this. I mean, it's all to do with Maisie's 85th birthday party, which is coming up, and they're obviously celebrating. But they've got a guest coming over from the States who is I think it's the oldest drag queen worldwide, isn't it? She's based in the US. It's Darcel 15. who's the Guinness World Record holder. It's about him, I think, just as much as it is about Maisie, and also Maisie's friends who have worked alongside her as well all these years. So it really isn't just about Maisie, and I was kind of thinking it was going to be just about her. But they meet and they have tea, don't they, in one of Brighton's hotels. And Darcel doesn't drink, but Maisie was knocking back the Prosecco, and I love that because that's what you see as well when you're out in these clubs where these drag queens are. Some of them, they are knocking back the booze, and they're asking people, the bar staff, get me another drink. And this is quite warts and all in a way, and I like that.
But that's where I think people like Bag of Chips is an evolution of that story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a breadcrumb that's been followed from old British drag. It's not like transliteration of American drag. It's a story, and someone like Bagger is that kind of person who still has that spirit about them, which is a very unique to British drag. I like the documentary. It would be even better if I got a bit more depth.
Yeah,
and I feel like I got all this depth in the last 90 seconds, where they gave us all these facts and figures right at the end, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like the backstory and some of it. And I felt it lacked a little in that. It was very, power of now, what's happening today, but it did lack a bit of that kind of substance that I think would have really pushed it over the line for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I really enjoyed watching it. There were no moments where I felt bored, or I just kind of wanted, like you, I wanted more, maybe more about Maisie, because I don't really know Maisie, really. I mean, I've not really seen much of her performing either. She's one of the drag queens that I always miss, for whatever reason that is, even though she's been working so hard for so long. But I didn't really get a sense of who she was. I got a sense that maybe she, I don't know, maybe was a little bit disgruntled from time to time. But then, she owned that. I mean, she did say, didn't she, that I'm quite grumpy, which again is very real. I mean, I love that, because it wasn't like she was painting herself to be this other person.
And there's this thing where someone says to her, oh, why don't you get ready at home and just go walk to the club? And Maisie's like, nah, would never, ever, ever do that. And some of that is underpinned by legacy and shame and all these kind of things. Like, today you get on the tube and there's a drag queen, half a face, going to a show, they arrive, whatever. They touch on it. They could explore that more, because I think that is super interesting for someone who is in their 80s and has lived through so much, and the legacy that comes through that, even when you're a drag performer for so many years, that there is still a legacy there. And I think that could have been really, really explored, because that is an interesting narrative about older queer people.
I'm going to admit I'm in my 50s now, my early 50s. I've been DJing for like 25 years, and I'm exhausted when I come out of clubs. And I can't imagine how he feels like in his mid-80s, but he still does it because he loves it. And there's that sense of him just kind of powering through and doing it because he loves it. He's obviously very passionate about that job. But there's one scene that I loved, and that was when Marcel and Maisie were getting ready, and they were filming them both independently in their rooms, in their, getting changed. And they're really struggling with like shoes and stuff that they're wearing, putting their tights on.
Yeah. I agree. That's the way that was framed, because that again brought through to me that theatrical side of someone sat in front of the spotlighted mirror getting ready, and it wasn't about particularly drag. It was about performance and preparing for a performance. So I liked all those. They were great. There was like real inside scoops of what was going on behind the scenes.
We've got a really interesting statement from the director, who said, I wanted to explore what it means to be queer in our twilight years, which is another reason why I liked this documentary, because we so often see documentaries from younger people who are just starting out or are very popular. Obviously the drag race cultures, kind of, we've seen that with what RuPaul's doing. But he says the first cut was a very different film. This is interesting. So he wanted to capture the beauty of old age, the drama that could be found in watching an old man struggle to get into a pair of glitter heels. So I think that's where that scene paid off, because I think that really worked. But like you, I just wanted to see more about the backstory, and it didn't really explain to me who Maisie was or who David was. Do you remember when we watched that documentary Donna, and you said there were too many ideas thrown into the mix? Did you think that with this? Because obviously we've got that idea of bringing over Marcel from the States, which I thought detracted away from Maisie as the star of the show, because obviously this film is called Maisie.
Yeah, so I think it was the opposite. I felt like it had a really singular thread, which is great if you build out that singular thread. So I want warts and all Maisie, and I want the backstory, I kind of wanted some vulnerability. You know, we got some of that vulnerability when we heard the radio interview about his partner Dom, and in some ways it was injected in that way, but some vulnerability about exactly what the director's trying to do, which is what is it like being an older queer person living today in the United Kingdom. And I think some of it came through, but I don't think it hit the mark for me, unfortunately. I enjoyed it. As you say, I thought it was fab. It was a very British documentary. I wanted it to be built out a bit, and I wanted that vulnerability and that openness about, how, what it's like. And I found Maisie a little bit guarded.
And again, like you said earlier, that radio interview was quite late on in the documentary, so it seemed like a lot of the interesting stuff was kind of pushed towards the end. But I don't know whether it's Maisie being guarded. I just don't know whether Maisie, or David I should say, because obviously it's a real person, not the character, is not quite as outgoing. Because I think when Marcel arrived from the States and they sat in the hotel, I just thought, oh my god, they're going to clash, because Marcel was so overconfident and so kind of almost boasting about all his other success stories in his life.
But I think what would be interesting for me in that scene is Maisie's thoughts about Darcel 15.
Yeah.
You don't get that either. You get a sense how it would be positive to go, how was that for you? Like, you just met another octogenarian drag artiste. Like, there's a question that is on the back of that meeting that I don't ever think gets answered. You're left to go, wonder if David got on, or you're left with a lot of open questions. And I think there's just a little bit more where the director could have taken us into some of these stories that would have rounded out David for the viewer who don't know who he is on a day-to-day basis, but know the brand that is Maisie Trollette. That's just my personal take, and I'm, me in a queer documentary, I like to get right in.
Because it makes me wonder if that was the director's intentions, because we saw flashes of photographs of Maisie throughout the years with all these big celebs like Danny LaRue and Wendy Richards and Paul O'Grady. Even Paul O'Grady has a video message during the party towards the end, and I kind of wanted more of that story, but in a way it felt like they were just flashes, and I think that might have been deliberate, because I think maybe that's the director's choice not to have a documentary like that. Maybe another one will come, I don't know, but it might just be his slant on it.
Yeah, and I agree, the same. I think you need to join the dots a little bit.
Yeah. You
have to piece together in your mind how David was friends with all those people. It wasn't just because it was the 70s. And then also, the narrative about how we got into the Trollettes. What did that mean? How did it come about? What came from that? And there is some text narrative that's trying to take you through the story, but it's very loose. It's a potted history that leaves you asking more questions.
So, star rating, final verdict for Maisie. It's a 3 stars for me.
And for me. Viewers should watch it. It's really fun. It tells the story of someone who is a legend and an icon. For me, there is definitely space to explore more, and that's kind of what I was looking for.
And I definitely think it is real. I mean, we do sense that none of it is staged or fake. It's all very real, which I love, and I applaud that completely.
Yeah, the same. That was good. Go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bohemia Media presenting Maisie in cinemas from the 5th of August. So check it out. Let us know what you think as well. Leave a comment down below. Sean, what are you up to at the moment? And where can we find you on social media?
I'm pointing at a comments box. Right now.
Yeah, do it. Leave a comment now.
I'm just taking a very short summer break from many media things.
I know all these people screaming out for more Unflopped podcast episodes, and they can't get
people
them.
Still screaming out for the podcast. I am taking a break. I know you all miss it dearly. We are taking a break. For most of the time, you can see me right here with you, and a bit of DJing here and there.
Yeah, I should say, actually, this isn't the reason why you're not doing more Unflopped, because you're doing Boys on Film stuff. I don't want people, atting me.
No, that's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. Very, it's all manageable and doable. However, Unflopped is just having a little break.
Yeah, you need a bit of a lie down occasionally.
Yeah. 100 episodes talking about pop flops. Please.
Put those heels up. Always good to see you, Sean, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. What have they got to do, Sean?
They've got to click somewhere down here. There'll be like a flashing thing. Subscribe and like. Comment.
There we go.
Thank
He's
you.
on it. Like a car bonnet.